Thank you so much for joining this session on AI in education, exploring engagement and interaction. My name is Kerry Abercrombie and I am the Curriculum Development Officer for Digital Learning at Falkirk Council. And I've popped my email address on this first slide here so that you can get in touch if you need anything curricular based related to digital learning, especially anything that you see today. Questions, queries, comments, anything that you maybe want to try for yourself but you're not quite sure, please do feel free to get in touch. That is what I am here for. Now, taking a little look at the participant list today, because this is the third of a series, I noticed that we do have people who are joining us for the first time, but we also have a lot of diehards who have become fans of this series and are joining us again. I just want to first of all give big kudos to those of us who are joining again. I know that you're extremely busy, and to put on a series is a little bit daunting for us because we're not sure how many people are going to come to all of them. So we very much appreciate those of you who have made the commitment to come to all of them. We're nearly there. We've just got one after this and then we're all wrapped up. Now, as was the case last time, this first 5 minutes is going to be things that if you've been to previous sessions, you will already have heard them. So if you're joining us again, please feel free to go and get a wee snack, a cup of tea, cup of coffee, a wee biscuit to keep you going, while the rest of us who are here for the first time cover this usual opening information. So our focus this time is on the pedagogical use of AI tools, specifically for engagement and interaction purposes. And I have to begin the conversation, as I always have to begin conversations about AI, with the Falkirk Council AI in Education Guiding Principles and Support Information, which recently got a shout out from the SQA actually on their Gen AI webinar, which we were just talking about before we started the meeting. The QR code on the screen will take you to our AI in Education Guiding Principles and Support page. We are very, very clear that any Falkirk Council education staff member who is using or considering using AI tools should familiarise themselves with this information. If you haven't already, I don't ask that you go and do this now, it's quite a long page, but please do make sure you've had a look at this prior to going off and using any of the tools that you see today. For those of you with a training responsibility or a leadership responsibility for digital learning in your school, we would absolutely love if you would like to share this information with others. So if you'd like a digital copy of this slide as a printable for staff rooms or bases, please just let me know and I will send that on. So when it comes to AI, as you well know, different people are at different stages of their journey. And in these sessions, we're taking a slightly different approach to usual, and we're asking people for every task or every section to self-select the group that they feel that they best belong to. And that allows us to provide usually differentiated tasks, but I'll come to that in a minute, or questions for each grouping. Now, I know that we have a similar mixed group today, and we know that people like this format, so we will be using it to differentiate questions today. However, the tasks today are slightly different. The tasks today are largely going to be the same for everybody, because in this session today, you are all going to engage from the point of view of a learner rather than the teacher. And that's because this session is all about learner engagement, and we want you to feel that rather than just be told about that. So the broad groupings, when we come to them for the questions, we have explorers, and that describes those of us who are just starting out with AI, people who are curious, and the focus for explorers during these sessions is to just discover these tools and figure out how they can make use of them. Navigators are those of us who are familiar with AI. You've probably used an AI tool or tools before, and the navigator's focus is on directing these tools with greater purpose and exploring more complex functions of tools that they are familiar with. And finally, we have our AI architects, and that is those of us who are already using AI regularly. And the focus for architects is on building and shaping the use of AI tools within their own established workflows or specific teaching context, and also to serve in this community as people that we might call upon for some advice or wisdom. So as I've already said, when it comes to choosing your grouping, it might depend on the tool that we're focused on at the time, and it might be that you change your group depending on what different tools we're looking at. That's absolutely fine. But for now, I just want to ask, speaking generally, where do you think you sit when it comes to AI in education? So are you, generally speaking, an explorer, a navigator, or an architect? And can you put your answer into the chat so we can see which groups people feel like they belong to? Excellent. Thank you so much for that, folks. Now, speaking of the tools that we're going to look at today, the ones we've decided to focus on today, as usual, come from Starter Suite. If this is something that you haven't already seen, it's new for this academic year. And the idea behind it is that keeping up to date with the rapidly evolving landscape of AI tools in education is so overwhelming for busy educators. So this starter suite offers a carefully curated collection of 9 free AI-powered tools which have been assessed to ensure their educational value and ease of initial use. And the hope is that this provides you with a practical entry point when you're embarking upon your AI journey. So within the starter suite, you'll be well familiar with now if you have joined us before. We break these 9 tools down into 4 different categories, sorted by educational function, because it is the educational function that is the most important thing. The educational function and the pedagogy is what should be driving use of any digital tools, including AI tools, not just using the tool for the sake of using the tool itself. We are absolutely encouraging a pedagogy first, purposeful use of AI in schools. Now, these 4 different categories, as you might have noticed, form the structure of these AI sessions. So we are currently on engagement and interaction, which has 4 tools within it: Curipod, Wayground, Padlet, and Adobe Express. And these tools are quite different to the ones that we have looked at in previous sessions. So prior to this session, we've really been focused on the teacher's use of AI. And in this session, particularly with Curipod and Wayground, we're going to look at tools where, yes, the teacher largely is the person who uses the AI features, particularly in that part where they're making the lessons to begin with. But crucially, the children also engage directly with the tool as well, which is slightly different to some of the tools that we've looked at in the last few sessions: Notebook LM, Gemini, the teacher tools in Magic School, the teacher tools in School AI. In the case of Padlet and Adobe Express, these 2 are tools where we can put text to image AI directly in the hands of learners for them to use and interact with. And that all makes sense, right? Because we're speaking about engagement and interaction. So it's probably no surprise that the children would be able to interact with the tools that we are talking about today. So this session today is going to be looking at each of these tools in turn and exploring how they might be used to boost learner engagement and interaction. So just before we dive into the tools themselves, I want to speak very, very briefly about what we mean by engagement. So there's obviously tons and tons of research on learner engagement and lots of viewpoints, lots of stances, and we're not here to get into the nitty-gritty of that, but we do want to spend a little bit of time talking about the different types of learner engagement and have these just in our mind when we think about the tools that we're going to see today and how it might link to these concepts of learner engagement. So the first type of learner engagement is cognitive engagement, which is about each learner's level of interest or curiosity in the learning that is happening in the classroom. We then have emotional engagement. So the suggestion here being that the focus and interest are helpful, but that learners' emotional response to the learning experience, positive or negative, are also important in shaping that interaction or that engagement. Then we have behavioural engagement, and I think this is a really interesting one because for me, erroneously, in my opinion, it's often cited as the measure of engagement. So this is the one where it's things like compliance, completion, effort, those sorts of things. We then have social engagement, which is all about collaboration, interaction, working with others and with the teacher. And then we have physical engagement. And again, this is an interesting one. So some take this as the notion that it's, that sitting up straight and nodding along and making eye contact. Some very compliance-based markers which allegedly show that a learner is engaged. But we do also know as teachers that some young people's physical engagement looks different to what we might expect. In this session, there may well be some discussion about physical engagement alongside the other types of engagement, but discussion about physical engagement that suggests positive experience. So jumping up when they win a quiz, or they come first, or they do well in an activity, or eyes widening and gasps when they see some of the AI in action for the first time. And I'm sure Aileen will speak to that a little bit later on in her section. Finally, we have cultural engagement, which is the notion that the beliefs, perceptions, attitudes, behaviours of individuals and organisations have a part to play in engagement, and how well the materials or the activities that we provide for children and young people reflect or don't reflect these cultural elements, and that these can have an impact on how engaged a child might be. So the most obvious one that we probably see very often is around accessibility. So if there is not a culture of accessibility in your school or in your establishment, if a young person cannot access learning because of the culture around accommodations, then this might lead to an individual feeling left out and disengaging in the learning. And we know that, we've seen that time and time again. We're very aware of that as a cultural impact on engagement. So as you can see, engagement is super, super complex, and we're not just talking about children behaving and complying with the task parameters. There is much more to engagement to that, and I just wanted to go through that with you so that you could keep that in the back of your mind as we go through today's session and think about what kinds of engagement these tools might be able to muster from our children and young people that we maybe don't see as much through traditional learning and teaching methods that we're maybe already using. So the first two tools that we're going to look at today are fairly similar, and I feel that they are often erroneously labelled as quizzing platforms, and they're often lumped in with the likes of Kahoot and GymKit and BlueKit, etc. I would argue, and I think Aileen, who is going to take us through Curipod in a few minutes, would also back me up here. I would argue that they are not quizzing platforms. I would argue that these are actually interactive content delivery platforms. They do have quiz-style questions available within them, but they are in fact platforms that you can use to deliver lessons and have that built-in interactive element that also marries very well with the existing practice of, having your PowerPoint, having your presentation, having your direct instruction that you use to deliver with learners. Now, essentially what these do is these allow you to move away from that quite static PowerPoint delivery to something much more interactive. So the jump to using these from a PowerPoint or a presentation shouldn't be too much of a leap for most teachers. And in both, you can use existing materials that you already have in your arsenal as a teacher. Now, both of these platforms have AI built into them on the teacher creation side prior to the lesson, and on the analytics side after the lesson has concluded. So they're not pure AI tools. They're not the same as Gemini or not ChatGPT, what am I trying to say, Notebook or School AI or Magic School. They're not pure AI tools. They are tools that have AI baked in to make it easier for you as the teacher, making it faster and easier for you to create something interactive. Now, to show you what Curipod looks like and feels like, more importantly, we're going to hand over to Aileen Wallace, who is a modern studies teacher at Graham High School and a Curipod Curiosity champion and owner of an absolutely fabulous cowboy hat, very on trend at the moment, Aileen. And Aileen, you are going to put our audience in the role of learners in a Curipod classroom today. Is that right?
That is the plan. So rather than me telling you how to make one, I am going to give you the experience as a student, because to me, that's the quickest and fastest way to let people realize the impact that this can have. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. I am hopefully going to spend the next 15 minutes or so giving you the recipe for engagement in your classroom. But before we get started any further, I am going to ask you guys to join in. So if you could go to that QR code or go to curie.live with the pin, and if I can get very clever, I might even manage to put that in the chat. I have, yes. So the link for that is in the chat as well, and I can see everybody joining in there. Thank you very much. I have silenced the sound on CuriePod because it does start to drive you a bit mad after a while. The first thing you'll probably see there is nobody's name is going on the screen. One of the things with engagement that I'm sure we're all aware of is kids being embarrassed about getting things wrong. Nobody's name goes on the screen with this. If at any point anybody gets kicked out of the game, yeah, I always refer to it as a game because my students do. You can join in. The code will be up at the top of the screen and you'll be able to join back in. Right, I'm going to close this join screen, but if you haven't managed to join us already, the link is in the chat and it will be at the top of the screen there. You can see it up the top. Today is International Vanilla Cupcake Day, in case you didn't already realise this. So brace yourself for a theme running through this whole presentation, folks. And let's get jumped in with that engagement. Hopefully this is going to come up. If you want to find out how to get started with CuriePod, there is a page in the Connected Falkirk Starter Suite. Sorry, my image has taken a month to load up here. All the instructions are there, and please feel free to reach out to me at Graham High School. I'm more than happy to help people out. Right, your first challenge for the day with our theme of Vanilla International Cupcake Day. What is your teaching style? Are you a vanilla cupcake? Are you chocolate, red velvet, lemon, or blueberry? So you have got 30 seconds to make your decision, ladies and gentlemen. The votes are starting to pile up at the side of the screen now. I use this a lot as a poll at the start of a lesson. I also use it with Bloom's taxonomy to help me see where my students are with their understanding. So as a starter task at the beginning, it is a nice, easy one to get going. You can choose it however you want. And I want you to remember which cupcake you have chosen, ladies and gentlemen, because we will be coming back to that later on in the session. Oh, vanilla has come out the winner. I thought chocolate would have got more. Oh, well, there you go. So vanilla closely followed by lemon and then blueberry at the end there. Well done, ladies and gentlemen. So our challenge for this afternoon is we are looking at increasing engagement in the classroom and making sure that we have got that 100% of students as often as we can joining in. Those of you who are doing the Bruce Robertson work along with your CLPLs this year will be aware that this is a big focus for him. And if we're getting kids involved in the lesson, it means nobody's hiding up the back, nobody's managing to dodge work. And it also means that you as the teacher are able to check understanding, which helps you gauge exactly where your next lesson should be and where the rest of your week should be as well. So really quickly, just 60 seconds, I'd like you to generate a word cloud with me here, folks. What stops students in your classroom joining in? So what is it you think stops students joining in? While you're having a think of that, this button at the bottom there, content moderation, means that I can see everybody as answers coming in. So far we've got fear of making mistakes, lack of understanding, speaking out, confidence, motivation. So as your students are answering before it even goes on the screen, you are able to see what they are thinking. And it also means, unlike Mentimeter, if anybody says anything you don't want to go on the screen, you can block it before it goes on the screen. Which is always handy, particularly if you're in high school. You know what the boys are like. So let's have a look and see what everybody has come up with. This is going to be one of the biggest word clouds I think I have ever had. There we go. Lack of understanding, embarrassment, bored, hungry. Yeah, sometimes being hungry overpowers it. Interest, the fear of making mistakes, shyness, the relationships that people have in the room. Yep, no iPad as well. One of the nice things about CuriePod is that it was actually designed to be like groups of 3 or 4 children on one iPad. So those of you in the lower primary school, when I think it's 1 to 5, CuriePod is designed to get children working together on their situations. So really quickly, it's the start of a lesson. You want to get students engaged. You can do a poll, you can do a word cloud. You're getting to grips with where you are. They're getting more confident at answering. They're taking part in the lesson. Other things that we're going to be looking at this afternoon, we've already looked at polls and word clouds. We're going to be giving you some AI feedback. We're going to have a go at drawing, and we're going to have a go at voting as well. So you will actually be able to peer feedback on each other, and you get the engagement growing up that way. Kerry was talking about behaviour at the beginning there. One of the plus sides that I discovered accidentally is the more engagement I got through Curapod, the better the behaviour happened in my class, because kids actually want to be involved in it. They don't want to be missing out. The focus is definitely on the lesson, and they hate it if they get kicked out because they've said anything silly or done something, because it means they don't get voted on. They don't get that feedback. So as a result, with this better behaviour, we've got a class having fun, they're more interested, and we've got more situations where students are more likely to take part. So the engagement feeds into the behaviour feeds into the engagement. As I said, we've already had a look at polls and word clouds, so we use these as starters, quick checks. They're also really handy for starting a discussion. So after a poll result, you can have a look at your moderating screen and pick on particular students. Why did you vote for that? Why did you vote for this one? And it starts generating conversations in a really gentle way. Right, now, for the primary school people, I have tried matching outcomes to you guys. I've done the best I can, but I'm not 100% sure on this one, so please bear with me. Right, I want you to think back to that cupcake you chose at the beginning in your poll, your vanilla, red velvet, lemon, blueberry, or chocolate. I'm going to challenge your creative writing skills and ask you to come up with a short poem about the cupcake that you chose at the beginning. So I'm going to give you 3 minutes for this one, and the AI is going to give you some feedback. So I'll go quiet and let the creative juices flow. So that is your first 60 seconds. Fiona is waxing lyrically about her vanilla cupcake, loving it. Alan, I'm going to trust the process with you. Oh, I see where you're going. Yep, like that one. Fiona S is getting a bit of zest in there. Gail, I am loving that. That is absolutely top quality, my dear. So I can see everybody's responses coming in, and it means that as students are working, I can give them feedback on their answers and make suggestions as they're working. And my students, all the way up to seniors, really like the fact that I can really quickly go, yep, you're going in the right direction. Don't forget this. Don't forget to add that in. So they're getting feedback. Kerry, I do love it. I do love it. Kirsten, absolutely spot on. So even before you get to the AI feedback, you are able to use your moderator tool to give students feedback on their work as they're going. And it just gives them that little extra boost. Lisa Elliott, that is, I was going to say haiku, but it's gone way over. It's a mega haiku. I love it. Shirley Ann is getting stuck in there. Let's see else we've got. Tim, oh yes, good work. So we've just about got 40 seconds left here, folks. A couple of people are finishing off. I can also see in my moderator who's finished and who's not by the colours, so I can check if somebody's handed in their work. I can have a look at it and go, oh, you need a bit, add more detail there, or you're not on the right line. So even before you get to the feedback from the AI, I'm able to give feedback to them. You can add some extra time on, or if the class has gotten out of hand, you can end the activity early and crack on with it. So you keep control at whole point. Last 15 seconds. We're nearly there, 10 seconds left. Dot your I's and cross your T's, all that kind of thing, folks. Okay, so I am going to click the button. So here we can see everybody's up on the screen. Again, nobody's name is up there. These are really good. And you should, oh, feedback's taken a little bit of a while. It's probably because we've got quite so many people on the call, which is absolutely top. So you can see every student's work on the screen. There's nobody's name attached to it. It lets you discuss and compare. It lets them give feedback to each other. They can see their own answer up there and get a bit of, oh, that's mine, that's mine. They can compare it to other people's and see what they've missed and see what they haven't. And the feedback is just having a little, there we go. So a lemon cut soft and pure brings a burst of pure delight. So we've got content knowledge, we've got clarity of response, it's given information on sensory words, critical thinking. Let's have a look and see what anybody else has got. Strong, true details, well done, clarity and tight each line, yep. So students get some positive feedback as well as some constructive criticism, and they can share that. I've been doing a lot recently on tell me what the AI you did well. Kerry was talking at the beginning about that dreadful problem we've got in Scotland of not being able to say what we're doing well at something. What I've discovered, if I say to students, tell me what the AI said you did well, they are much better at giving me that feedback because it's not what they think, it's what the AI thinks. And it's again, it's building up this confidence, it's building engagement through them. So you've got instant feedback in the room, students have a chance to self-reflect on what they've done, you're able to check understanding, you could redo the question if you wanted and have another go at it, or you can move on with your lesson. So it's picking up engagement, it's bringing everybody on board, and everybody's getting that little pat on the back to make them more likely to join in with the next challenge. And I know for some people that slide is going to give them the fear. I am one of them. So we're going to have a little go at a maths challenge, just so you see that you can do this with maths as well as with sort of literary skills, English skills. You've got 36 vanilla cupcakes. You want to share them with 9 friends. How many cupcakes is each friend going to get? So this should pop up as a whiteboard on your screens. You can do, don't forget to show you're working. You can show your answer on the screen. I'm only going to give you 2 minutes for this to give everybody a chance at all these different engagement activities within CuraPod. And at the end of this, once again, the AI is going to give you some feedback on it. So this is a chance, particularly for things like maths. I am 52 years of age. The thought of a maths cover class brings me out in a cold sweat. So for those students who are really anxious about showing they're working on the screen or they're working on a board, this is a nice, safe, low risk area for them to have a go at an answer, get some feedback before perhaps you move on to an assessment or the next version that you want them to do in your jotters or something like that. Let me just have a look and see if we can see if people's answers are coming in. Yes, they are. Some interesting approaches. Bottom right-hand corner of your screen, I will say, folks, if you scroll down into the right-hand side, you will see a little box that says write final answer here. So make sure, Gail's found it already. Well done, Gail. Gail's found the box there, the bottom right-hand corner. Greg's cracking on with his division. Don't forget, Greg, put your answer in that bottom right-hand corner box for the AI to give you your score on it. We've got 30 seconds left for your maths. 36 cupcakes, 9 friends. How many is each friend going to get? Okay, so again, you can see everybody's answers, and this lets students see the different approaches that everybody has taken. And as a teacher, it lets you discuss those different approaches. So what's so good about this answer? So this person here, correct answer is 4. Your answer is 4. Absolutely correct. Spot on. They've got a glow there. Nice job using division correctly. They've got some positive criticism, constructive criticism for next time. And it's even given them some scaffolding answer to help them out for the next time. Nice job reaching the correct final answer. So again, there's this positive feedback that gives them the confidence that, okay, no, I was doing this in the right way. I could make it even better. It's kind of your what went well, even better if. I'm going to give you one more maths challenge to let you see another way that you can use CuraPod. Oh, my apologies. I forgot I put this in. Right. How can you improve based on your feedback? So for a teacher, this lets you see where you need to go next. If you need to revise something, if you need to go back over it. For the student, it's a chance to have a self-reflection on what they've done and to let them think, okay, next time I'm doing this, I need to do whatever it is that the AI said I have to do. So it's sort of a double whammy of engagement there. One for the teacher, planning ahead, and another one for the students, seeing how they did well and where they're moving next time. So I could see here, if this was my class, I need to go back over with students to help them include their explanations in their answer. Okay, really quick one this time. I've got a whiteboard going to pop up for you. You've got 3 triangles. I want you to mark on the whiteboard which of these is the right angled triangle. Again, it's low risk stuff. It's just getting students the confidence to go, yes, I've got it right. Or if they did have a wobble, they can see on the screen what other people did and how they went wrong on it. I'm going to have another quick look on our content moderation and see how people are doing. Claire is very confident with her answer there. So is CS. Iona, liking it. That's looking good. Oh, Juliet, that's lovely. I like the way you've done that one. So again, all the way through the piece of work, you can constantly giving feedback to students. You can constantly encourage them, keep them working on it, keep them on the right track. They're not waiting until they get that final response. I think this should be quite quick AI feedback wise because We're just marking. So you can see here up on the screen all the different ways everybody's done it. Again, it gives you a chance to discuss answers without having anybody named and shamed, or some cases named and praised. Some kids hate that just as much as being pointing out what went wrong for them. Again, lots of different approaches. This one, yep, top on. Lots of different approaches to how students have done the answer. Oh, clever, well done. This one chosen because there's the right angle, nicely done. What you should get from it is the feedback giving you something similar to we did with the sums, telling the person what they did well, giving them a bit of positive feedback, and then giving them something they can do better next time. Oh, there we go. Conceptual understanding, you know the right angle is a square corner, good spot. Problem solving, it's given them accuracy, clarity of communication, and then they've given them next steps as to mark why the others are not right angled. So again, you've got this, what went well, even better if, grows and glows, feedback all the way through the feedback from the AI. So again, with this idea of maths, which can be a fear inducer for students, it's a safe area, it's low risk, and it's instant feedback that they can get. Okay, thinking back, now you could draw the cupcake that you chose at the beginning. You can go nuts and draw your ultimate one. I want you to draw me your ultimate cupcake, and this time it's going to be a voting challenge, so you're going to get to see everybody else's creations. If you're looking for color, I think it should be in the top left-hand corner of your screen. There should be a black box and you should be able to change the color. Everybody's starting with the actual holder of the cupcake. Good start. Sarah's getting stuck in with the fillings on top there, liking the color. Shirley Ann, I don't know what that is, but I'm loving the look of it. So again, as a teacher, I can see what students are drawing. I can give them feedback on it as we're going through. You give them that encouragement to keep trying, to keep going. They're getting a bit of fun. And then when they hear, oh, somebody else did that. Oh, let's see, what did you do? And they start talking, and the social aspect comes in. Kerry was talking about that at the beginning. You get this social aspect to the engagement. They start sharing ideas between each other and they start feeding off of each other. And if we don't get voting at least once a lesson, my lot absolutely go into uproar. Last under 10 seconds, finishing touches, your last swirl of icing. And then you are going to get to start voting. So you'll see 2 at a time, and you can vote. And yes, you can vote on your own before anybody asks. So you're going to see 2 at a time coming up on your screen. If you're doing this in class, whatever it is, you can do it with a written answer, you can do it with a drawing. They can compare their answers to each other's. They're giving feedback to each other. They can consider their own answer. Again, there's no names. It's anonymous. It's safe. And they love seeing their scores point up. They love seeing how many stars they've got and trying to get more stars than they did the last time. Last couple of seconds. Oh, our winning cupcake. What an absolute delight. Absolutely beautiful. There was first place. Let's look at second place. Loving the sprinkles. Third place, stripy holder. You can't go wrong. And literally a cherry on the top. There you go, ladies and gentlemen. So this gives you a chance to have everybody's answers up on the screen. Students absolutely love seeing it up there. And you can compare, okay, why did we vote for that one? What was it we liked about it? I particularly like the panda one. That's very cute. You get a chance to compare. Why did we choose this answer? What was good about it? How could we make it better? So there's that continual engagement. There's peer marking. There's confidence building. And it's given them a chance to reflect not only on what they did, but on what other people did as well. Now, I'm just about to finish up here, but what do my students like about Curipod? I keep polling them to find out about it. They love the fact that they can have cooperation in it, so they can work with each other. They love the feedback they're getting from the AI. They like the fact that they can feel safe with their answers going on the screen because it's anonymous. They find that the activities are really enjoyable, and you all know if you're enjoying things, you learn more. A lot of them have said it's built their confidence up, and for them, it's a safe space to share their work without having judgment of, oh, somebody thinks I'm a try hard or somebody thinks I'm not good enough. So all of these, my students have told me in my S1 to S6s are a reason why they like using Curipod in the classroom. So my last one is I want you to have a think about which Curipod challenge do you think you will try this week? Are you going to have a go at a voting, a poll, a word cloud? Are you going to stretch those navigator muscles out to doing an AI feedback? So which Curipod challenge will you try in your class this week? So we're going to finish with a word cloud. A few people going to try a bit of maths, loving it. Lots of people hoping to get some AI feedback in there. Maths multiple. I'm so glad I was brave and put some maths in there. I was seriously having the fear about it. Rebecca's going to go for a poll. Laura's going to try a drawing challenge. There's some good ideas here. Showing their answer with working, Gail. Yep. Kirsten, some drawing tasks for P2 to P3. Kirsten, even my S5 and S6s love a drawing task, no matter how. In fact, I've done this with staff at the school, and the challenge between the art department and the rest of the school got frankly ridiculous, but everybody was laughing and enjoying themselves. Last 5 seconds, we'll get our word cloud up and see what everybody's going to be busy with for the rest of the week. Here we go. Big numbers there for AI feedback and voting, drawing challenges, and word clouds coming in next. So as I said at the beginning, I'll come out of that now. The how to get started on this is on the Connected Falkirk Starter Suite. You can get yourself stuck in there, and please feel free to reach out to me. And I should back to you, Kerry.
Thank you so much, Aileen. That was absolutely amazing. I'm sure we'll all agree, lots and lots of fun. And I think the whole point, as we've talked about already today, is that we are looking to make you consider how it feels when you're part of that, rather than show you how. I'll just echo what Aileen has said about the fact that the starter guide to this, or how to get started, is all in the starter suite, and I want to reiterate that it is extremely easy for you to get started. Excellent. Oh, good question from Colleen about the do you subscribe to CuraPod? No, it is free, and you get a free teacher account. And everything that Aileen showed today is available on the free account. All of the tools that are on the Connected Falkirk AI Starter Suite have a free version for teachers, and all of the features that we show in the AI Starter Suite and in these sessions are all ones that are available for free, because we know as much as you that frustration of going, oh, that looks brilliant, and then you go to actually use it and you've got to pay for it. And I'll not be paying for anything when I'm a teacher, so I wouldn't expect anyone else to be paying either. Laura just asking about when you sign up, do you automatically get moderator status? Aileen's answered that in there. Yes, that's one of the best things about CuraPod. The moderator status is very, very, very comprehensive. It's really good. You do have to have it open on a separate screen to the one that you are presenting on. So just bear that in mind. Aileen, I don't know if you want to come in on that about which screen you use to present and which screen you use to do your moderation in your classroom.
What I usually do is I use the moderator on my iPad. So that lets me move around the class and I can interact with the students at the same time. So I'll have the lesson running on my main screen and I'll put the moderator on my iPad. And that just gives me the mobility.
And when you go to use it, you'll see it's very simple. You open the moderator screen, it gives you a QR code, you scan it with your iPad, and then your iPad becomes the moderator screen. Right, thank you so much for that, Aileen. So that was CuraPod. As you've seen, Aileen is a Curiosity ambassador. So she would be, I'm sure, more than delighted to help you if you are just starting on your CuraPod journey. And hopefully that little demo has piqued your interest. Now, as usual, I have a question that I would like you to answer in the chat. Just one question based on the level that you self-select around CuraPod. So if you are an explorer, you've never seen CuraPod ever, this is your first time seeing it, what's one word that describes your first impression? If you have seen it before, maybe you've even used it before, was there something that you saw in the demo that you'd never seen before that you think, I'm away to go and try that? And if you're an architect, you're using CuraPod all the time, what is your favourite thing about CuraPod? If we could have answers in the chat, please. Brilliant. So we're going to now take a look at Wayground. Now, remember, as I said, for Wayground and CuraPod, they are very, very similar. So some of this might be a bit like, oh, she's just basically doing the same thing. But it's important that we do see similar tools used side by side so that we can maybe decide which one we have a preference for. There might be a certain age or stage that one or the other might be suitable for, or it might just be the vibe and the look and the feel of it that draws you to that one. So you're probably in a situation where you might not use both CuraPod and Wayground. You might just decide that one of them is the one you're going to go forward with. But we want to make sure that you've seen both equally so that you can make your decision. So just remembering that, as we've already said, both of these tools are free. It is the teachers who need accounts, not the children. And the children always access with a QR code, so they're not going to have to log into anything. They can literally just scan the code once you've started the game and they can get in. So I'm going to come out of my presentation. I'm just going to go into Wayground on my internet browser. And again, this is an internet browser one. We don't necessarily need to have the app. I would always, if there is an option for browser, use the browser. As Aileen's already been talking about, you might want to present using your class computer onto your projector and then using your iPad as the moderator screen, which Wayground also has. So I'm just going to quickly show you how we make a Wayground, and it's very, very similar to Curipod. So on both Curipod and Wayground, there will be a button that says create or make. You will be asked what type of content you would like to make. And on Wayground, you can see here we've got assessments, presentations, videos, passage, or flashcards. For the purposes of this demo, I am going to just choose assessment. So that's just going to be a quick quiz. Presentation would be the one that would be more similar to what Aileen's just shown, with the content slides in between for you to do your direct instruction or your discussion of the learning that is happening. But I'm going to choose assessment just now, and this again is very similar to Curipod. You get the choice of whether you want to import worksheets or questions that you already have, whether you're going to generate them with AI or whether you're going to create them from scratch. I'm going to tap on generate with AI. And you can see here again, I get the choice of, do I want to upload a document? Do I want to use a text or a prompt? Do I want to use an existing website? Do I want to use an existing YouTube video? I'm going to choose text or prompt. And then I just type in what I want. So I'm just going to ask for a quiz about Scotland. Now, I'm very jealous of Aileen's theme because I would much rather be talking about cupcakes. I've maybe not been as adventurous with my theme, but hopefully everybody will get full marks. So a wee quiz about Scotland is what I want. I can choose the number of questions and I can choose the year group that I want it for. And then if I just hit on continue, what you'll see is it's just going to pull together some questions. And this is very, very similar to how you make something on Curipod as well. You're either generating from a text or a prompt, or you're using stuff that you already have. When I tap on generate quiz, it's going to go into a conversation with the AI where I can change things, I can make any amendments that I want, or I can just hit use this quiz and it will turn it into that editable quiz or lesson for me. Now, I am not going to use this one. I have made one previously. So I'm just going to save that as a draft and I'm going to go back to my library. And I am going to go to the quiz that I already have and I'm going to hit on play and I'm going to hit start now. I'm ready to go, so I'm going to hit start in the top right hand corner. And we have a quick quiz about Scotland. Let me make this QR code big for you. So we've got 39. I'm going to get started because we don't have an awful lot of time left. So I'm just going to let us get going. I'm going to make sure the volume's right down. So we are starting with a slide here. So again, like Aileen had, you could have lots of different slides built into the different interactive activities, scaffolding the direct instruction so that there are times when the children and young people are looking at you and looking at the front and they are getting information directly from you. And then there are times where they're also on their device. So this is a quick quiz about Scotland. We are going to have our first type of question, which is a fill in the blanks. So the question is, who was the Scottish hero that led his people to victory at the Battle of Bannockburn in 1314? Who was that person? And you can see that we've got this by the letter. So it has a different box for each letter, giving us the clue that we are looking for a 5-letter name. So Robert the Who. You'll also notice at the bottom of the screen there, I have put in a little hint That was something that I put in manually as the teacher, just in case anybody was struggling. And you can see here that we immediately get an accuracy rating. So I can see straight away that 100% of you have got it right. Now, one of the things that's good to know is that if you look at the answers here, we can't actually see anything because I need to toggle on show answers to be able to show us the answers. So that's quite useful if you don't want to see everything immediately and you want to have a little bit of discussion around what the answer may be before we go in and actually look at what people have said. I also have it so that the names are off immediately, but I can also hit on show names and that would show me the name of the student that has said that particular thing, and I can tap on that to see exactly who answered what, so I can maybe have a little bit more discussion if it's an open-ended question. But that is our first question. We are going to move on to our next question. So this one is a very simple pick the right answer. Which famous Scottish landmark is known for its mysterious monster said to live in its waters? Now you can see on the right hand side here that my names are starting to turn white rather than grey for those of us who have submitted an answer. So I can keep a really close eye on who is still trying and who has completed the question. And you can see there at the bottom, I've got 36 out of 41 students who have responded. So we're just waiting on 3 more people. And I can actually at the top flip over to the responses if I want to, but I'm going to leave it just now and end the question. And we have 40. One person didn't manage, but that's absolutely fine because I ended the question before the time was up. Again, we've got show answers. We also have the ability to view the correct answer, which I can put up on the big screen and discuss with the children, and that will stay there until I hit close. And that's something that I think is really important because when we use things like Kahoot or Blue-Kit, we don't always have time to stop and speak about what the right answer is and why that's the right answer. Those apps that are very quiz focused are very much about moving through things as quickly as possible and not necessarily stopping to have the learning conversations that we might need. Now I'm going to pause here for a moment and just look at the bottom of this screen because we have quite a few things along the bottom of here that we might be interested in. In particular, this one that is like a wheel, it looks like a Ferris wheel. If I tap on that, what that's going to do is that's going to give me every person who is currently playing the game. And if I spin the wheel, I no longer, even though I love my lollipop sticks, I don't have to use my lollipop sticks for no hands up answering and questioning because actually the wheel is going to tell me who it is going to give me the answer. So if you ever need random name generator within the course of the lesson delivery on Wayground, you have that built in for you already. I'm going to X off that, and Keith, you're off the hook because we don't actually have a question to ask. So if that's you, don't worry. I'm just going to move on to the next question then. And one is going to be a poll, I think, actually. It's maybe not the best question for a poll because everyone's going to get it right because it's not exactly the hardest question in the world. But just again, to show you that it has similar question types to the ones that you've seen with Curipods. So you're getting much of a muchness in many ways. We have already said that they are very similar. We've still got a few people who are attempting. I'm just going to end that question. There's somebody's obviously maybe needing to hit that wee refresh button, but that's okay. So we've got 40 out of 40 there. That's fine. That one didn't really work particularly well because I've maybe not set up the question particularly well. I'm going to move on then to the word cloud. So again, it's very similar, but what's your favourite Scots word? You can write in your response. So we're looking for your favourite Scots word. So we should just be filling in one of our favourite Scots words. This is where autofill is not our friend on iPad or phone. Autofill does not have a comprehensive Scots language dictionary. So we've still got a few to come in. Good stuff. I'm just going to end the question now so that we can see, and by miles, and maybe an indication of the weather today, dreich seems to be lots of people's favourite Scots word. We've got Egypt, we've got wisht spelt slightly differently, which is very common when it comes to Scots words. In fact, we've got wisht spelt 3 times in different ways. Tumshape, leather, wabbit, curry, dreich again, Fankel, Bringe. I don't know that one. Whoever that was, if you want to tell me what Bringe is, I would be very interested to know. But you can see that we've got classic word cloud, same as what Aileen's kind of already showed us on Curipod. Just going back to the buttons at the bottom, again, just another thing that I can do is this little one with the eyeball and the board. I can tap on that to make sure that you get a message on your screen to say, eyes up front, look at me, look at the teacher who is talking, stop looking at your device, bring your eyes up to me. That's something that actually happens automatically on Curipod when you're on an information slide, but it's good to know that it's also on here and that you can control it. I'm going to go to next, and we're going to have our drawing one. So for this one, like Aileen's right angles, I am going to ask you to draw the other half of Scotland's national animal. So I have put half of Scotland's national animal. You are going to draw the other half. And it's just to give you a chance to see how you think these drawing tools compare to the ones that you have already seen in Curipod. So you've got a like for like comparison using it on your iPad. Which one do you think is easier to use? Maybe that's going to be easy for your children to use. So it's important to note as well, just on the bottom left, while you're drawing your national animal, that we do also have the moderation, if you like, tools, the Classroom Pulse. I will be honest and say that they are not as comprehensive as the Curipod ones. But they do allow us to see which of our learners have their hands up, which is something that you as a learner can do from your end, put your hand up virtually, and then I as the teacher will know that you have your hands up and I can come and speak to you. And it also gives us information about who has answered and who hasn't answered yet as the task is ongoing. Now, I would normally be able to see the amount of time left. I'm not quite sure why I'm unable to see that. It might have been something that I've switched off actually. But we're just going to have maybe 30 seconds to finish off our other half of Scotland's national animal. Notice that I'm trying really hard not to say what the national animal is, although I think everybody knows. If not, you're about to get a huge surprise. I'll go back to here, and I'm just going to end this question in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And you can see here that we have our wonderful unicorns. Now, I will admit that this is easier to see on a desktop screen because they don't come in like a big line like this. But look at these amazing drawings of unicorns, and we have kind of been a bit novel with this approach, but that thinking about the right angle thing, thinking about science, thinking about labeling stuff, diagrams, you can choose any image for the children to draw over the top. Wow, look at this one's main. Any image for the children to draw over the top of, or you can give them a blank page to work on as well. So lots and lots of things that are very similar to what Aileen showed. I'm just going to end the presentation, but hopefully that gives you an idea of how there's much of a muchness available in terms of the types of questions and the types of interactive activities that you can use. Just like Curipod, we also get to view the reports at the end so we can see how our class did question by question or student by student. And it's really those analytics that are really, really useful for us when we're planning the next step of our learning. So you can see here, we can get it by participant, we can get it by question as well. So lots and lots and lots to think about there. But hopefully that just gave you the chance to experience both one after the other and managing saying awesome unicorns, everyone. Absolutely agree. Fantastic stuff. So we're very, very quickly just going to do the question, and it's the exact same questions as last time for Curipod. So if this is your first time seeing Wayground, one word that describes it. If you are a navigator and you've used Wayground before, what's something that you didn't know it did that you've maybe just seen? And if you're an architect, what was your favourite feature? And we're going to have to do this one super fast, folks. Okay, moving on then, we are going to speak about the next two tools, which are both text to image AI tools that you can use with your learners. Now, for those who don't know, text to image AI is where we can type in a description of an image using words, and the AI model will make those words into a picture for us. Now, you might have played with this yourself in Gemini, which can also do text to image. Their model is called Nano Banana. It's extremely good, but it's also only available 18 plus, because as we know from the previous sessions, from the AI Guiding Principles page, from the starter suite, Gemini is an 18 plus product in Glow, so children don't have access to that. So what can we put in the hands of our children? Well, these two are your answer. Now, these are not the only text to image AI tools available on the internet. There are many, 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 many of them. But what is very important to know is that these are the two that we recommend because neither of them have adverts, which can be problematic, and both of them have pretty secure guardrails in terms of what they will and will not create. And that is, of course, an important consideration when working with children and young people. So if you would like to explore text to image AI with your learners, it's one of these two that we are happy for you to use. So we're going to start with Padlet then. And on my teacher account, because again, this is one of the tools where the teacher needs an account, which is free, but the children do not. On my teacher account, I have set up a Padlet, which you are going to join and make use of. And you're going to specifically be using the text to image AI model, which helpfully is image. And I want to show you how quick and easy it would be to get your children and young people onto this and making stuff using this model. But first, I just want to give you a bit of a scaffold around what I would like you to create. So we're going to be writing our own children's book about a cute monster who helps others. And it's your job to design the main character, so your monster. Now, I'm going to give you just 20 seconds just now to think about what you would like your monster to look like. If I was doing this in class, I would perhaps actually ask you to write that down, write the description down on paper or digitally, and we might take some time to refine that and make sure we're using all of our descriptive language and all of those wow words and making sure that we're really getting a good solid description of that monster. But just now we're just going to have a little think so that when the time comes in a few moments, we'll know what our monsters are going to look like. So hopefully you've got a picture in your head, an idea of what you want that monster to look like. In a second, you're going to go to Padlet using the QR code, but I'm just going to show you very quickly what you're going to do when you get there. So once you get into Padlet, there is going to be a little plus in the bottom right-hand corner on this Padlet. That plus is black. Hopefully you can see it there in the bottom right-hand corner. When I press the plus, it's going to bring up a post. I'm going to type my first name where it says first name. And then from here, I am going to press the green AI image button. And we're going to get this basketball player picture. It's always this picture of the basketball player. And it's in this text box above the basketball player that we are going to type in what we want to see. So a cute yellow monster eating yellow, if I typed it right, monster eating a cupcake. We'll go with the cupcake inspo. I'm going to either press enter on my keypad, or I'm going to press the little arrow that is pointing to the right next to clear at the top there. Once I've entered my prompt, it's going to think about it for a couple of moments, and it's going to give me 4 AI images. And from those 4, I'm just going to tap on the one that I want, and I am going to hit the publish button on my post. You don't have to wait for it to load. You can just hit publish right away, and that's going to add my monster to the bottom of the Padlet. So let's have a shot of Padlet AI image. The QR code is on the screen. So you're going to scan that QR code, and you are going to add your AI generated monster. Now it does say on the screen there that remember to use the word cute monster, because we do want our monster to be cute. Our main character is the hero, not the villain of the story. So we want to use the word cute just to reiterate to the model that we want a nice, lovely monster and not a terrifying, scary monster. Now, if you've found that your post has come up with just your name, it's because you've not added the picture to the post before you've hit publish. If it is coming up with the whole description of the monster and your name, that's because you've put your description of your monster in the name box rather than hit that green AI image button and then put it in that text box above the basketball player. It is helpful to know that it is always a picture of a basketball player. So if you're using this with children and they are struggling with that, you can make sure that you can say, can you see the basketball player? It's above the basketball player that we're going to type in our words, not on the post itself. So we've got some coming through. Let's have a little look. Oh, look at these. Gosh, we could make a new version of Monsters Inc. with this. These are very cute. We've got a lovely parrot themed monster. Hannah's one is super cute with a little love heart tail. We've got Laura's, who's obviously based on a dog. Claire's looks really like a small version of Sully from Monsters Inc. Look at these, how sweet and how easy it is to use this model. Now, what I will say is this is a bit of a novel example. It's just one sort of example of a context in which you could use this type of AI. But if we think about where this might have a place in learning, there's lots and lots of scope for this to be used in conjunction with imaginative writing, as we've done just now, creating characters and settings, etc. Either doing that prior to writing and using the AI output as a stimulus, or after writing to bring our children's creations to life, or even possibly during writing to check to see if we're being descriptive enough. Does the picture that we are trying to paint with our words match the picture that AI creates as a result of our words? We could be creating sequences of AI generated images based on stories that we are writing or retelling, fostering that visual literacy and those narrative skills. There are lots and lots of things that we can do with this related to writing, but we also have lots and lots of things that we can do outside of writing. So we can use this type of AI to visualize abstract concepts, so bring intangible ideas to life by generating visuals from descriptions to help us aid comprehension, maybe spark some analysis. So for example, instead of just reading about ancient civilizations, actually we can take some of the learning about ancient civilizations and feed that into the AI and get a real idea of what that might have looked like based on historical texts. Or when studying a novel or a poem, we could describe a scene and the AI could generate a visual representation of that to help deepen our understanding, but also spark discussions about the AI's interpretation versus their own interpretation. We can also use what if scenarios to spark curiosity and wonder. So we can pose hypothetical questions that we cannot see in real life. So what would happen if animals did human activities? And get students to describe the resulting scenarios and then be able to visualize those to encourage creative thinking and imaginative discussions. And we can also use it to visualize ideas after brainstorming and planning. So students can describe an idea, a creation, a product, and then create visuals that represent them. And this can help students to see their ideas in a tangible form and facilitate further discussion and development. And Gail has put a great comment in the chat there saying that they use this for computer games development, MPA, for pupils to design characters and levels. And I think that's a really interesting use of it, because there's a lot of places, as a media teacher, I know this as well, a lot of places where actually we want children and young people to visualize stuff. We want them to have an idea of what that looks like. We maybe even want them to use those visuals, but the marks or the learning is not in making the visual itself. It's not in drawing that character. They're not getting any marks for that. They're not getting any learning from the actual process of drawing. The design is where the marks and the learning happens. And so what we can do is we can be very intentional about our design and have the AI model visualize that design or that concept for us. And I think that's important to think about, especially in terms of leveling the playing field for children who do not like to draw or do not feel like they can draw, or who need to be able to visualize something really quickly. I want to be really clear. I am not saying that we should not be drawing stuff. I love drawing stuff. I love doodling stuff. All I'm saying is that not every lesson is an art lesson, but lots of lessons need artistic components that perhaps we can use this type of AI to create. Another quick thing to mention about Padlet, if you're teaching any languages, is that if you type into it in French or Spanish or Italian, it will draw that thing as well. So that's something for you to consider if you're doing things like clothing colours, jobs, stuff like that. If the children write a sentence in Spanish, it will come out as a picture so they can test their knowledge of vocabulary. Now, I do have to tell you, there are other AI features in Padlet. You can do things like making historical timelines, using AI to pre-populate Padlets with information related to certain topics and subjects. It is just the AI text-to-image stuff that we are looking at today. There are quite a few nifty little other features in Padlet as well. Padlet is free for teachers, and you get 3 free Padlets with a free account. But you can easily download the contents of a Padlet and then archive or delete them once you've used them to free up a slot. So it's not that you only get 3 Padlets, it's like you get 3 active spaces for Padlets, and you can use those however you wish by deleting, archiving, and starting new ones. Now, another option when it comes to AI image, and I'm laughing a little bit because I can see Juliet's face as I say this, another option is Adobe Express. Now, Adobe Express is something that is available to all staff and learners via Glow, and this can be used on iPads using the app or on desktop computers via the browser. So if you are in a shared device environment and you still have access to that computer suite and you're taking the children to the computer suite with the mouse and the keyboard, you can absolutely access Adobe Express via Glow on those desktop computers. Now, fair warning, the app is extremely large and it uses a lot of the device's processing power while it is open. So if you're using the Adobe Express app, my top tip would be have every other app on your iPad fully closed down when you start using Adobe Express. Now, for that reason, I am not going to demonstrate Adobe Express text to image live, because not only does it use a lot of processing power, but we're also live streaming this, which also uses a lot of processing power. But what I will do instead is I will show you the page of the AI Starter Suite that is about Adobe Express image creation. So you can see here that you get to it using that beautiful fish image that says generate an image underneath. It will then open up the AI image generation tools. And as you can see, it's a lot more complex than Padlet, right? So it's got a lot more options. It's much more customizable in terms of settings, in terms of style. You can put in reference images if you want the composition to be the same as something that already exists. There's a lot more choice and footering about that you can do with it. As a result, I think it probably makes slightly better AI images than Padlet, but the question really isn't about that. The question is about the age and stage of your learners, how important the ease of access is, because obviously with Adobe, they've got to log into their Glow account, whereas with Padlet, it's a QR code straight in, as you've seen. And then it's also about what you're going to do with the images once you have created them. If you're going to use them just once and once only, Padlet is probably fine. If you're planning to use those images as part of a larger design, such as a poster or another type of learning artifact, then you probably want to look at Adobe Express, because you can do all of those things right there in that app, including using the AI image generation within an existing design. So they can start a poster and then they can also put an AI image into that poster right from the poster design screen. So they both do the same thing, they just have slightly different access routes and they have a slightly different level of complexity. So those are the two AI image tools that we are more than happy for you to put into the hands of learners. I hope that you can see that there's some potential benefits for this type of technology, and it's certainly, for me, one of the most engaging types of AI that I think you'll be able to put into the hands of your learners. I've yet to see a child or a young person who doesn't find using this absolutely captivating the first time that they do it. We are up at time. I was going to ask what you thought about the AI image stuff, so I will actually ask that really quickly. So in the chat, if that's the first time using AI image, what did you think of it? If it's not your first time, what's something that you have used it for? I see some people have already put stuff in the chat. I'm not going to keep you folks. I am going to very briefly then just finish off by saying that this was the third of four. There is one more to go on the 24th of November, which is all about assessment and feedback. A couple of QR codes just for your convenience, just the AI Guiding Principles and Support and the AI Teacher Tools Starter Suite. And as always, we have the Falkirk AI Teacher Network if anybody is interested in joining that. The QR code is on the screen, but you will get all of these slides after the session, probably tomorrow. And all that remains to say then is thank you so much for joining the session today.